Hey folks, it's your favorite Uncle Corey here again. Today what I want to talk to you about is proper tree planting techniques. The reason I picked today to do this, because I am in the perfect neighborhood to show you what not to do. Okay, I don't know if you can see, let me flip this baby around. If you can see these yellow trees? Some of them are yellow, some of them are not. Okay, the reason that these are having problems is because, wait, let me go ahead and show you a little more down this other street. Here we go. Here's a client of mine. Hers are looking terrible. This is a lace bark elm. They are a little more sensitive to being planted too deep. Basically, this is what your problem is planted too deep. Okay, if you look right here, you can see all these yellow trees all the way down the street. Isn't that just lovely, huh? Okay, even on both sides. Look at this, look at this. Okay, pretty much every last one of these trees were planted too deep. That's the reason why they're yellowing out. Now I'll explain to you why. The problem is that the tissue on the trunk itself is not the same as the tissue of the roots. Now the roots are adapted to being moist all the time. The trunk is not. What happens is if you pile up the mulch, the soil or the mulch, because mulch will do the same thing as the soil will. You pile that up there, that wood will start to expand on the trunk. And when it expands, it contracts the vascular system. And when that happens, basically it's cutting off the circulation from the roots to the top of the tree. It's basically, trying to sip through a straw that sips some soda through a straw that you pinched in the middle. Now, let me show you over here. We have over here a tree, one of the few trees that is actually planted properly. And I'll show you some of the evidence. Here we go. Look at that. You see the difference in color? The difference in fullness of some of these other ones over here. Okay, now we're going to pan down and look at, there we go. See, the rule of thumb is, you see that root flare where it's flaring out? The rule of thumb is where the root flares out and it goes, and the roots, the trunk flares out and the roots go horizontal, there should be nothing piled up higher than that. And if that's the case, then you're going to have problems. You're going to have that problem. Okay, let me show you. I have cleared out some of hers right here. You can see where the mulch line is and where I've dug down. It's essentially got it's got about the mulch piled up about a good 4 inches taller, higher than it should be. Okay, I'm going to go over to this other one and we'll take a look and see how deep this is. Okay, let's take a look here. I'm already at 2 to 3 inches here. Okay. And as you can see, I'm still not even down all the way. I still got about another inch to 2 inches to go. Basically where it flares out, that's what you want to have it at. If you look at all these trees, and this kind of disgusts me, look around, see this scraggliness, see the lack of color. Look at this over here, terrible. Here's a classic case. Check this out. Look at that right there. That's at least about 8 inches too deep. Because this is a common thing I see all the time with landscapers. You know, I can't speak for the owners of the landscape companies, but more often than not, the people that come out and do the planting don't exactly know what they're doing. They think you dig a hole, you throw it in, and you cover it back up and you're good to go. It doesn't work that way. See, I am the occasion to actually be able to see these trees after they've been planted, especially a couple years after they get planted. Now, let's face it, you plant a tree, you're going to get transplant shock. But this area, all this area, these have been in there for a few years, quite about, I want to say about 3-4 years. Transplant shock can happen up to 2, but this is not the issue here. Anyway, this problem is very common. What I find is that more often than not, the landscapers will come in and they'll plant them too deep, and what they'll do is they'll pack the soil up against the trunk so that they don't have to spend extra money on stakes. And the proper way to do it is to stake it in 3 different directions, so that it, until it gets stable. You basically leave them up for about, I want to say maybe 1 to 2 years. But basically what we're running into here is what I see all the time. If they had planted them right in the first place, you wouldn't have this problem. I got a client just on the next street. They've had to replace 2 of her trees because they were still under warranty. And the only reason that she said something about it is because I told her about it. More often than not, whenever these problems manifest, they manifest about a 1.5 to 2 years later, when of course the warranty is up on the tree. So luckily enough, I caught it and let her know, because she had some that were dying. Good chance that some of these are dying. Also, I want to point out too is learning what trees you need to plant. There are trees that just can't exist in our environment, especially with soil and temperatures and whatnot. Let me show you a classic example. If we look over here, right there, this and these are southern red oaks. Now, they shouldn't even be planted here at all. What should be planted here, and which I'm assuming that the landscapers thought they were planting, were Shumard red oaks. And that's the only ones you really should be putting in as far as red oaks go. Now, I'm sure they probably got a deal, and they're like, couldn't believe the deal they got on these red oaks. That's the reason they got the deal, is because these aren't even supposed to be planted here in the first place. That's the reason why you're seeing that. Chances are that tree's not going to make it. Every time I've ever seen a southern red oak that gets that bad, it's not maybe a year, 2 years later, it's gone. And then, but anyway, do yourself a favor, guys. Just make sure when you plant it, or if you have somebody plant it, whenever you plant it, make sure that it's planted where the top of the root ball is that's in the pot should be even with the ground. It makes it less stable, but you're supposed to stake it anyway, so win-win. And the proper way whenever you're putting mulch is not to pile it up in a big mound. The proper way to do it is to create a berm around it, basically a donut berm. And it's basically to insulate the root system from heat, and also to hold in the moisture. Now the moisture is not, it doesn't need the moisture held in right by the trunk anyway, so you're good to go. But anyway, like I said, rule of thumb, root flare where it comes out horizontal, that is where you want to keep it level with the soil. And well, that's pretty much all I've got today. I hope it was helpful. Still working on building my site and whatnot, doing the videos, but if you have questions and whatnot, you've got my phone number, so over at Lawn Doctor in Grand Prairie. But that's it for the days, guys. let me know what how you like this video. Hopefully it's probably shaky all over the place with my phone, of course. But yeah, it's hopefully this was helpful for y'all, and I'll see you when I see you. All right, you have a good one.